favorite. And it's taken from Revelation song. It's a song, though, that has us look to the presence of Jesus, to see how we can come, and when we come into worship Jesus, that Jesus also gives us hope. Revelation is a book that tells us, we know the end of the story. We can have hope. Christians, we look at different things from a different perspective because we look at things through the perspective of Christ. And that makes all the difference. I've been encountering a lot of people facing end-of-life issues, whether with themselves or with friends and family. And it makes all the difference in the world to know that Jesus is part of our life. Because death is not an end to a story. It's not the end to the song. It's just a pause. It's a transition. Christ gives us hope for the future, but also hope in the present moment. When we come to the table, we're going to take communion here in a few moments. When we come to the table, we come into the presence of Jesus. And communion is partly a time of confession. It's partly a time where I say, God, there are things that I've done. I've messed up. I've fallen short of my own standard, let alone your standard. And I lift that up to you. But it's not only the things I've done wrong, but even the areas where I've refrained from good. I've not loved my neighbor as I should. I've not heard the cry of the needy. I've ignored that. I've been too busy. I've been distracted, or I just have been too tired. And so we come before God and we lift those things up. We lift up all those vulnerabilities, but the point is not guilt. The point is that God knows about all that about you, and you are forgiven. This is a reset moment. Communion's a moment where you can hit the reset button, that you can say, tomorrow I will live differently. Today I will live differently. Every moment I will live differently because of the presence of Jesus Christ at work in my life. Communion is a time where we encounter the real presence of Jesus. Now, and I always like to come down off stage as I come to the elements, because I think it's so amazing that Jesus came from heaven. God came from heaven to earth to be a particular person. God is not just some universal idea that we learn about, some universal deity, but Jesus, the Jesus we worship, is Jesus of Nazareth. He lived in a particular time among particular people. Have you ever noticed it's really easy to love people in the universal sense, but it gets a little more tricky when you love particular people? We all have these things that seem to come up, things that sometimes bother us. If you live in close proximity with people, you bump into particulars, don't you? God knows all that about us and loves us. And that's, I think, partly why God came down to earth, to be a person, a particular person in a particular time, so that he can meet you, a particular person, in this time, right here and right now. And so Jesus gathered together in a meal that I'm sure would not be forgotten with some close friends, the 12 disciples. He got together and they shared a meal, one that I'm sure they never forgot. And Jesus took a loaf of bread and he broke the bread. He said, "Take this and eat, all of you. This is my body, which is broken for you, so that when you experience physical suffering and heartache, when you experience emotional and spiritual sorrow, know that I know what it means to experience hurt and suffering." Jesus knows what that feels like. Jesus can relate. And Jesus meets you in the midst of your life. And when the supper was over, he took a cup, gave thanks and raised it, and said, "Drink from this, all of you. This is the blood of my new covenant, poured out for you and for the many, for the forgiveness of sins." So that you don't have to live by the old covenant any longer. The old covenant was law. It was trying to do better every day, day in, day out, I'm going to try to be better. I'm going to try to be better. But you don't have to do that anymore. That old way, that's the way of the Pharisees. The new way is the way of Jesus. It's a life of grace. God's already done enough for you, and you don't have to prove anything. You, your sins, your whole life has been washed in the blood of Jesus Christ. We're going to take communion here in a moment after we sing another song, and we have another short message. One of the songs we're going to sing is Holy, Holy, Holy. It's a song that recognizes that God is holy, but God's holiness is working in us. The real presence, the presence of Jesus Christ, wants to work in you and through you. God wants to draw near to you. Don't miss it. Don't miss it. We get so busy. Our hearts, our minds, we're filled with agendas and so many worries, not the least of which, am I worthy? We come into the presence of God, and we aren't worthy by our own sake, but through the presence of God. As we transition, I want to say a prayer that I think is profound, but simple, but very profound. I think it's a prayer that can change everything. It's that, God, you are here. That's it. When God meets with us, when God is here, we encounter the love of Christ. So let's turn to God in prayer. God, we open up our hands and our lives, all the vulnerabilities, all the particularities to you. And we say, God, you are here.